Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games. Today we have yet another leak regarding the Switch 2 rumor, however you want to quantify this. I guess a leak is like a verified piece of information or something, but the point is, we have some Switch 2 business to talk about today because we have a drawing, yes, a drawing of what the Switch 2 dock and the kickstand will supposedly look like. Let's get into it. Alrighty folks, a good Saturday afternoon. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. Today we are talking about the supposed Switch 2 dock leak that happened this morning. So to catch you all up, there is a user on the forum Famiboards named Ninspider, and they have been very casually, very quietly leaking things over the past several months. I don't think I've ever referenced this user on my YouTube channel, but back in April, I believe they were actually the first, or at least one of the very first people to reference the use of magnets for the Joy-Con, which we now know based on factory leaks and all that, that's basically like confirmed. Like we are pretty like 99% confident that the Switch 2 Joy-Con will connect using magnets as opposed to the railing system on the current Nintendo Switch. So they were one of the first people to talk about that. They were also one of the first people to talk about the existence of a new button underneath the home button on the right Joy-Con, and based on the factory leaks that we saw back in September, that all seems to be lining up. Now, this factory leak, as you all probably know, was from, I believe, October 2023, so it's a little outdated, but just from this shell here, I mean, you can get a pretty finalized idea of what the Switch 2 Joy-Con will look like, and of course, we also had all those, like, CAD files that came out that look like this. So this user, Ninspider, has been leaking stuff very slowly, very casually about the hardware, and it frankly hasn't been getting that much fanfare. They also, just recently, their last post on this website was back in August, saying, I am looking forward to EMEO and the Direct on the same day. That was around the time that we had heard from PH Brazil that Nintendo was moving up some of their presentation plans to August, and Ninspider said that they were looking forward to EMEO releasing on the same day as the Direct. Now, that did not end up happening. However, it got really close to happening, and I know at the time, no one was expecting EMEO and the Direct Partner Showcase and Indie World thing. Like, no one was expecting those two things to coincide even in the same week, because up to that point, Nintendo very, very rarely ever had overlap like that. They almost always had, if there was like a game release, they kept all announcements away from that week, and EMEO kind of broke that pattern. So they missed that by about a day because the Direct Partner Showcase was Tuesday morning. Wednesday morning, the game would have been out in Japan. So about by 24 hours, that was missed. But I feel like that was just maybe like a time zone thing. I'm not too sure, but every other piece of information we've gotten so far seems very reliable, and Ninspider as a whole seems very reliable. But we have this new sketch that came out from Ninspider just this morning at 5 a.m. on Famiboards, where it's a sketch of what they have seen of the Switch dock. It's not an actual photo, but we see the new dock, we see the new kickstand, which we had also heard would be more like a hollow U shape, unlike the OLED, which is kind of like a big flat panel. This actually does kind of fall in line with that, which we heard from someone else, that the kickstand would be that hollow U shape, and we're seeing that here. But we're also seeing a much fatter dock. It looks like there is not going to be any more laying down the dock in your entertainment stand to make it fit better, because it's got a lot of junk in that trunk, basically. Now, we don't know what that will be. It could be more cooling. It could be something else entirely. I would say the safest bet is that it's just for cooling purposes, especially if games do run a little bit better while you're docked. If they run at 4K while in the dock, but then 1080 while you're playing in handheld mode, you're going to want a little bit more cooling for that. And I imagine that's what that probably is for. Now, I guess if you wanted to lay it down, you still could, right? Like, you could lay it on the front, I guess, and it would still be connected, it would still work, it would still fit into your TV stand that way if you must lay it down. I know Masahiro Sakurai in his like TV setup, he has it laying down in his cabinet, so it is, I guess, a pretty common thing to lay your Switch down in the dock and your TV stand, but I personally do not do that. But I guess losing that option, or potentially losing that option, might be a bit annoying for some people. We also see that new kickstand here, which we had heard about back in that factory leak that said there'd be like a big Switch 2 on the side of the console or something along those lines. I am a little skeptical of this. I'm sure it'll be sturdy. I'm sure it'll be fine. However, I think the Switch OLED's kickstand being that big flat panel is, first of all, it's satisfying to like open up and close, but also it just works, right? Like, it just works really well. Even while laying in bed, that kickstand is a beast. They really took the criticism to heart after the Switch 1 kickstand was that just that little piece of plastic on the on the right side that did nothing. The Switch OLED kickstand is fantastic because it covers the entire width of the console itself, but also it's, like I said, that big connected flat piece, whereas this is going to be hollow on the inside. It'll probably be just about as sturdy, but I really like the OLED kickstand. I really hope that this maintains the same level of stability that has. Now, the other thing I want to talk about here is the fact that the dock itself is still going to be covering the screen. There's been a lot of speculation over the years, even back when the Switch was first announced, there were people saying this, that Nintendo should have the dock have the screen be open so that they can display information on that while you're playing games. And if this drawing is real, if this is what the Switch 2 dock looks like, they will not be doing that once again. They're not going to be doing any sort of data sharing on the screen. They're probably not going to be giving you notification light-ups on the screen, which is, I would say, a pretty big missed opportunity. I feel like I've seen a lot of people that really are championing that idea of having the screen be out so you can use it for other types of like gameplay. I'm not too sure exactly what that would be, but I've just seen that sentiment a lot, that they should have the Switch 2 dock have kind of an open flow design so you can see the front of the screen and it can kind of do stuff while you're playing. But alas, if this is true, we will not be getting that this time around. Now, beyond Ninspider themselves posting it, we also saw Nate the Hate chime in and talk about how this is similar to what they have heard in the past couple of weeks. He says, quotes, "All I can say is that the dock sketch is similar in design/shape to the one I was sent several weeks ago," meaning a drawing of the alleged dock, "but I've been working to verify it. Whether this design has circulated Chinese forums or not, I do not know, but the general design matches what I was sent in September. Again, haven't verified the design with any contact source at this time, but basically, while he doesn't want to like put, you know, a fine stamp on it and say like, yeah, this is, I'm following along with this, I believe that this is the design, Nate the Hate is saying like, hey, this kind of matches what I've heard, and maybe we should take it a little bit more seriously. At the very least, that's my takeaway from it, as we all know Nate the Hate has been pretty reliable over the past couple of years when it comes to Nintendo leaks and rumors. So we have Ninspider, we have Nate the Hate, we have, even going back to what I talked about yesterday, we have Dr. Circa and Toto doing that very cryptic just Switch 2 tweets. It's starting to feel as though we are actually getting close. I feel like, you know, I'm always feeling like a madman. I'm feeling like the madman and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the conspiracy board. But it really does feel like we're actually starting to get some smoke. We have the Switch Online playtest in the coming days. Maybe next week really is the week, maybe the week after. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this because it does feel like we're starting to actually get closer and closer to this dang reveal, which I guess is always true, right? Every day we wake up, we're a day closer. But this is our first, I would say, substantial piece of information or leaked images or whatever that we've had since the factory leak back in mid-September. So about a month ago exactly now. We are exactly 1 month removed from September 19th. So the fated day we all expected it to be announced. We are a month away from that now. This is our first major thing. We're seeing this leak. We're seeing Nate the Hate kind of talk about it. We're seeing Dr. Circa and Toto tweet some cryptic stuff about Switch 2. Who knows if that's actually related? But it feels like things are starting to kind of take form again, and the hope of a reveal in the very near future is starting to feel even more valid, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. But also, I will say, we saw sketches of the Nintendo Switch before the Nintendo Switch was announced. If you remember, the way we found out about the Joy-Con and the dock for that, I believe, was it Eurogamer? Was it Eurogamer's report back in July of 2016? It might have even been earlier than that we saw some like factory sketches, some like very, very rough sketches. But definitely Eurogamer's report at the latest back in July of 2016. That was several months before the reveal of that console. So like, well, I want to say, okay, this sketch of this dock getting out right now indicates something could be happening soon. It could also indicate the opposite. Frankly, that would, if anything, if we're going to follow the logic of the Switch or NX kind of rumor cycle to the announcement, this sketch being posted, if it is real, would indicate we're still a few months away from the reveal, which could be true, you know, if we're going to follow that. But I choose to skew on the side of optimism and hopefulness, even if it might be futile. I really want to see this thing in the coming weeks. Now, there was something else interesting that I wanted to talk about today, and that was a financial report by the company 2's, a Japanese game developer. They develop a ton of stuff. I guess most notably for Nintendo fans, maybe. They actually develop Super Princess Peach as well as the legendary Starfy games. They mentioned something very interesting in their financial report. So reading very briefly here from Automaton Media, they say that 2's had lost 121 million yen in 2024, I believe. But then they say, however, 2's forecast for the following financial year, as reported by Otaku Soken, suggests that the company expects to turn profitable again by August 2025. The basis of this forecast has to do with 2's structural reforms, but also with the announcement of Nintendo's new console, which is expected to bring, quotes, a particularly favorable wind to the market. When the next generation console's release date is made public, 2's expects that demand for game development will rise. The developer also expects that demand for PS5 and PC titles will remain strong throughout the year. In addition, 2's has several several large projects underway, some of which are scheduled to launch in the first half of the fiscal year. So 2's is saying directly they expect their profits to pick up by August 2025. Because of the Switch 2, they believe the Switch 2 will be released by August 2025. I feel like this news has kind of gone under the radar, but this is pretty big, I would say. 2's is a major developer. I mean, just looking through their Wikipedia, they've been around since the 80s, right? They're a very long-running developer, but also they've worked very closely with Nintendo. Like I said, they made Princess Peach on DS as well as the legendary Starfy series, but also very recently they've been supporting developments of a lot of Nintendo Switch games, including Thousand Year Door. They co-developed Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince with Square Enix, as well as Final Fantasy VII Reunion and Dragon Quest Treasures. They co-developed WarioWare with Intelligent Systems, so that's kind of interesting. They worked on WarioWare and then also went on to help with Paper Mario. They worked on Origami King. They worked on Splatoon 2. They worked on Color Splash. So the point is, 2's is gonna know. They're gonna know what's going on behind the scenes. They're gonna know, like, okay, we should expect this to release in this time of the year, and that way we can know that our profits will likely be going up by August 2025. So they are expecting it to release by then, and frankly, listen, they could release the Switch 2 in August. They could release it in July. I guess they could even release it in June. But I don't think releasing a console like this in the summer really makes sense. You're either talking, I think September could work. I think September is possible. However, if we're talking about a first half of the year release, I really think we're looking at March, April, or May, leaning on that March and April side of things, which means we have to see this console soon. If it is actually releasing in the first half of the year, if 2's is right and it's releasing before August of 2025, which like I said, I think would suggest a first half of the year release, we need to see it soon. So while like I said in yesterday's video, I am a little scared, right? Like I feel like there's a chance we just go by without actually seeing this thing this year, and we go until February without seeing it, and then yeah, maybe it comes out in September or something. I just feel like logically, given all of the context clues we have, right? We have no games announced after Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, or no games dated, I should say. I guess they could still very easily announce something and put a date on it for February or March, like Metroid Prime 4. But between no dated games after Donkey Kong, between there being no September Direct, between all of these factory leaks and all this weird stuff going on, between just the weirdness of Nintendo in general this year, I just feel like we are due for that announcement in the very near future, and if it's happening this year, it basically has to happen in the next like 15 days or so. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of this new Nintendo Switch 2 dock leak? But also, what do you think of this information from 2's about the Switch 2 potentially being released before August 2025, and that's why they expect their profits to go up? I would love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch 2 news, discussions, theory, speculation, all of that fun stuff. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and check out my other channel at It's Amiibo. Until next time, folks. Peace.